All right. It looks like we are live.
Wonderful.
Yay! Okay, so welcome to Permission to Be Powerful. This has become just such a beautiful thing. I started this as a passion project. I just wanted to interview a couple of my colleagues and friends, and this has become a very important and rich and valuable conversation about women and power. And I am so blessed today to introduce Aimee Lyndon Adams, right? What is the
Yes, Aimee
Adams? I
Lyndon-Adams.
wanted to say Johnson for some reason. I don't know where my brain went. So Aimee Lyndon-Adams here today. And I met Aimee at this beautiful networking event that a couple of my friends have been telling me about for months. And I finally took the leap and went. And the second that I met this woman, um, she is like a fairy sprite. She just has this radiant, loving, beautiful, sweet, childlike energy, and yet she is fierce. You can feel her power. You can feel the work that she's done below this just open-hearted, loving, gracious energy that she walks into the room with. So thank you so much, Aimee, for agreeing to come on and speak with us today.
Truly my pleasure, Michelle. And what a beautiful introduction. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm going to read Aimee's bio that she sent into us, and then we will do our thing like we usually do and just jump,
Sounds
leap off the ledge and see what happens. So Aimee helps light workers who are blocked in fulfilling their purpose to raise their frequency so they can fully make their contribution to the world. With her business partner, Karen Halseth, she offers strategic business rejuvenation, pinpointing not only what needs to be changed to allow for more growth, but also fully participating in the implementation of the solutions. And results happen fast. I can attest to this. Improving the bottom line, client and employee satisfaction, productivity, and accuracy. Aimee also offers speaking services. She's a wonderful speaker, group mentoring, private mentoring, live and online training programs, and monthly live professional events. She is a gem. And it's like if I could stick myself in a room with this beautiful woman for hours and hours and just pick her brain, I would be hitting not even the tip of the iceberg of what she carries inside. Let's leap.
All right.
Let's leap. Aimee, you have had quite the journey to get to where you are today. And I know that you've spoken with me and with others about some of the places where you did not feel very powerful as a little girl, growing up as a young woman. And so just taking a moment and touching into the story that needs to be told today to help us really understand that journey.
Thank you so much. I'm fond of saying it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Right.
And I think that's so important, for me personally, but for all of our light workers right now, because so many of our light workers started their life in less than ideal circumstances. I was born to young soul parents who couldn't see who I was energetically as an old soul. I was, sexually molested by my father. And I did what so many of us do when that happens, is I just literally separated out of my body, which, became a pattern that I had to deal with, that, around heavy duty confrontation, I would just suddenly zoom and I'd be out of the body. And it took me actually half of my life to get in touch with, the antidote, which was really to learn how to get into my physical body and to stay in it.
Yes. And the staying in it part is so hard.
It really hard. It took me a long time. I'm very clear about that, as I teach others the value of being grounded and centered, the benefits of it, but also that, until you actually develop a preference for being grounded and centered, that you actually prefer to be in your body instead of out of it. That's where the struggle is. Once you've developed the preference, you know that you want to be in, and you recognize when you're out, and you're able to easily reconnect with your grounding structure.
And it's interesting because to me, it seems, at least from my experience, that it's just like so many things. There is no quick fix, magic button, magic pill. You have to simply do it over and over and over again until that threshold just naturally gets crossed. And you recognize, oh, wait a second, I'm ungrounded. I better go do my thing and get back into my body because that feels so much better to me.
Exactly. Everything flows better when you're grounded. There's no question about it. And actually you feel better about yourself because you're present with what you're saying. You're present with what you're agreeing to. So you're not in that awful place of realizing you've agreed to something and you can't remember what you agreed to. Or you show up at the wrong place at the wrong time, which happens a lot around ungrounded people. But also when you're ungrounded, you tend to be what I call an energy sucker. And so, you start trying to take other people's energy. And you do, because you're so ungrounded yourself. You take far more time of another person's time. And I really strongly believe that time is the greatest luxury on earth right now, because it doesn't really matter how much money you have. Do you have any time to actually enjoy it?
Right.
It's a very big deal.
Yeah, I love what you just said, because I think this is the dilemma of trauma. It's the dilemma of trauma that for many women, especially when it's been physical trauma or sexual trauma, there's such a fear in coming back home to the body.
Yes.
But the paradox is that until you do that, you will remain in a place where you are less powerful for all of the reasons that you just named, because you're not aware of the commitments that you're making or what you're saying. You aren't reading the energy, and you're just reacting rather than responding from that grounded, solid, discerning place. You have no discernment because you're not connected in any way. And so it's such an interesting paradox that the very thing that many trauma survivors fear, which is being in their body, is actually the safest place for them to be.
Very well said. Very well said. And it is a journey. And, unfortunately, obviously we're in this incredible time of what I call the shift of the ages. And there can be no doubt that we're in it right now, where we're seeking to up-level our vibrational frequency to a different dimension on Earth. And, the biggest block, apparently, at this time is the fact that people are not willing to feel their feelings.
Yes.
And also not willing to really be in their body and partner their body. And this is, I understand it just from the reasons that you shared. And I think, this whole emergence, once again, of Black Lives Matter is another piece that really is encouraging us all, inviting us all to feel those feelings that none of us have dared to feel. Yes. Because they're so shameful.
Yes.
Yes. It's just, if you really allowed yourself to go there, there's a fear that you would never come back. But unless we really do that and feel the feelings of disenfranchising our brothers and sisters, we're never going to get over it. And
Absolutely.
where we're moving to is a place of reverence for all beings, you know, human as well as, you know, our animals, our birds, which, you know, we've treated shamefully on the earth plane.
Yeah. Yeah. I so appreciate that you said that, because that is a piece that is such a big part of my work, both personally, but also the work that I do with others, is again breaking the myth that our feelings are the issue. The feelings are meant to be felt. They're meant to move through us. It's the dismissing of them or the stuffing of them that causes like 99% of our problems.
Absolutely.
And we haven't learned how to also witness people in their feelings, to recognize that our job is not to stop somebody from having an icky feeling. It's to just be with them while they have that icky feeling and allow it to do its thing, move through them. And it just blows my mind.
I know. It's you know, once you realize that feelings are a gift, you know, that they're a part of the gifts we've been given in a human physical body. You don't have feelings for no reason. You know, if you feel angry, you don't just suddenly become angry. You get angry because you've been dissed or a boundary has been trodden on. You know, you don't get resentful for no reason. You get resentful when you've actually said yes when you should have said no.
Right.
I think that a lot of the issue is the fact that, you know, all the human beings on the planet are at different stages of evolution. And, you know, when you think of the evolution of souls as we move from infant soul to baby soul to young soul lifetimes, you know, these can take, you know, hundreds of lifetimes to move through. And until you actually cross over into the evolutionary stage of mature soul and then old soul, you're not in touch with your feelings. So I think back to my corporate experience, and I remember a mature soul arriving as a colleague of mine. And I realized right away she was going to be in a lot of trouble, because she was definitely someone who emoted strongly. And I knew that the organization we were in was largely young soul based. And she got really creamed for being what was seen to be inappropriate in the workplace. But, you know, it is such a misunderstanding. And I think it's affected all of us, especially women, to be judged as being out of control for our feelings. And, you know,
Absolutely.
when we think back to, you know, our ancestors, how they were also, you know, locked up and institutionalized and medicated for having feelings. It's just so wrong.
On so many levels. And I'm so glad that what I see in my world are a lot of women who are ready to and stand up and say, no more. This is ridiculous. This argument that that being in my feelings is, like you said, out of control or over the top, or I'm overly sensitive or overly dramatic, or whatever the heck those words are that people throw at us, that the reality is, no, this is exactly what needs to happen. If you can't feel me, what is this, any of this matter? If you can't feel me, how are you going to relate to me? If you can't feel me, how are you going to really understand what I want from you or need from you? Or, you know, that's where we connect. Exactly. And this paradigm that we've all, you know, grown up in, where that was a dangerous place to go or an uncomfortable place. It's just, you mentioned when we first spoke about how discomfort is so necessary. Can you speak to that a little bit about why is discomfort such a necessary thing for us to experience?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to kind of back into it. Thank you for reminding me about that. I'm going to back into it because, you know, if we think about, you know, what gets in the way of us feeling our feelings, of actually spending more time being rather than doing, which, you know, is such an essential complement to doing, to be able to disconnect, right,
Yes.
from time to time
Yes.
and just be present with ourselves and our internal guidance. And what we're seeing gets in the way the most is these distractions. And, you know, when you think of distractions, everything from, you know, our emails pinging and our phones beeping and, you know, things that call to you constantly through, you know, television or books or magazines or whatever it is. It's really a cacophony of opportunities that are all designed to distract you. And, you know, what the problem is in allowing yourself to constantly be distracted is that you are avoiding the discomfort of simply being present with yourself and allowing what needs to come up to come up.
Yes.
And so rather than take that time to feel into a feeling, even pain, I feel the same thing about pain, that, you know, we've all learned, you know, sadly, that we'd rather pop a pill than actually find out what the body is trying to communicate through the pain. Because pain, again, just like feelings, it doesn't come for no reason. There is a way that your body is trying to get your attention. And when we pop a pill, we don't take care of that issue. We allow it to fester. Even though the pain has gone away, the issue has not been resolved. And then it will come back again. And so we see often the body trying and trying and trying to get our attention so that we could release the feelings, because here we are back to feelings again. Unresolved feelings lead to dis-ease in the body, which of course then, if unattended, becomes disease. And so really the body is your best friend and will communicate to you through discomfort. And then of course, here we are not paying attention to it.
Yeah. So, Aimee, you and I have both been sexual abuse survivors. We've had that journey of being disconnected, and sometimes still do, you know, of popping back out and coming back in. So I think something that would be really valuable for people to hear is, you know, what does that bridge look like? Like, what did that bridge look like for you between being disembodied, recognizing that you were disembodied, doing the work to come back home to your body, and then the benefits that you have experienced in coming back home and staying there, you know, more regularly?
Thank you. What a rich, beautiful question. So let me say this, that many of us, you know, of course, myself included, felt very, very lost at the beginning of our lives. You know, I remember even when I came to America, you know, I was afraid, would I ever find anyone to connect with? And when I found one person, I felt so cheered because I knew if I could find one person, there would be more.
Right.
And I think, you know, of course, the pattern of attracting other abusers, because when you've been sexually molested, that abuse energy sits in your cells and then it broadcasts through your energy field. So you can be one in a room of 200 and an abuser will actually be able to pick you out as their next victim. I never understood this for years. And then one fateful day, I remember thinking a new thought, and that was, oh, it would appear to me that it is not an accident that I keep choosing love and get abuse instead of love. And the power of that was I stopped blaming the people that were abusing me and owned that somehow my own choosing was faulty. And I thought to myself, you know, I wonder if my wires are crossed, like my inner wiring. This was the thought I had for myself. And so I actually sought out an energy healer who was also a medical intuitive. And she said to me that she had the ability to see my bloodline, and would I be willing to have her look at that? And I said, absolutely. And she said, what happened to you between the ages of 3 and 5? And I said, well, I remember going cross-eyed and having to wear spectacles, you know, with a Band-Aid over.
So did I.
Really?
Oh my goodness. 5, age 5, my parents tried to get me the lazy eye surgery and I refused, and we did the whole patch thing and all of that. Oh my goodness. And I had someone tell me that that was associated with
Absolutely.
the abuse. Oh my goodness.
You just, you know, as a child, you cannot believe that the man that you're supposed to totally trust to protect you is actually molesting you. And so, I gave her permission, and she opened the black blot, as it were, and she described my father abusing me. And I had such a visceral reaction. My body actually started to heave, and I fell on the floor, and I really thought I was going to die. And she said it was because when I left my body during the molestation, I left through my 3rd chakra. And so my 3rd chakra got really reactivated by her sharing the pictures. And as it started to settle down, I realized, you know, I was in my 50s when this happened, 50 years old. So I had 50 years of being at the effect of this before I was ready in my journey to face it and heal it. And I took the next 7 years. I decided that I couldn't trust myself to choose appropriately for the time being. And I took 7 years to actually heal the abuse out of the cells of my body. And I created a brand new agreement with myself that I was going to fall in love with myself. I was going to treat myself the way I wanted to be treated in relationship. I would learn to value who I was and claim my voice and be able to stand up in my own being. And I even made an agreement with myself that before I ventured forth into the dating arena ever again, I would be living the life that I wanted to be living on my own terms. Yeah. So I would never allow a man to tell me how to live my life again. It would be, I'm living my life this way. If you like it, great, join me. If you don't, bye-bye. You know? And that's what happened. At 57, I actually had a session with Karen. We weren't working together then, but I remember saying to her, you know, I'd never forgive myself if I attract another abuser. I don't think I could get over it. Yeah. And I said, I wonder if you'd look at my energy and let me know if I'm complete in the work I've been doing on myself. And she looked at me, she said, I'm scanning you from top to toe, and I'm not seeing one cell that's holding any abuse. So she said, if you were in a room, no abuser would pick you up on the radar. And I said, God, that's wonderful. And, you know, how close is my beloved? And she said, if you leaned back, you would lean right into his arms. He's standing right behind you, and you're going to meet him any day. And I met him 10 days later.
Oh my goodness.
And this is what's so remarkable to me about my story. You know, this is why I say it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I started, as I've been sharing, you know, being sexually molested. I had no confidence in myself as a woman, as a sexual being, in my body. I was terrified all the time. You know, when you've been abused, you really have safety issues.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would jump at my own shadow. I mean, this was really how I began my life. And then when I met my beloved, it turns out not only is he an author of conscious sexuality practices, but also a sexual healer. And so I start one way and I end up with I mean, I can hardly put it into words. It's like he's taught me how, you know, sexuality is a direct connection to spirit, that actually practicing conscious sexuality is the fastest path to spiritual growth. It's the way to, you know, develop your energy into ecstatic energy. And, you know, I mean, I'm absolutely in wonder and awe that I could be in this position. And, you know, and I've been with him, you know, for 15 years now. And the hallmarks of our relationship are harmony, you know, humor. We laugh together every single day. And, you know, I'm 72, and to be 72 and in an ecstatic sexual relationship, it blows my mind. And I think, you know, I'm a kind of a poster child for anybody who's been abused, you know.
Yes.
Like, do not fret, you know. Healing is possible. It really is. Yeah.
It's so beautiful. It's
Thank
so
you.
beautiful. And this is why we need to share our stories. Like, I know a lot of sexual abuse survivors. I know people have been on different healing paths, but your story is so unique in that way. And how, what a gift, like what a gift we would not be receiving if you weren't willing to share your journey.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you so much. Yeah, I have to say, you know, being the other side of it is amazing. I remember years and years of just pouring my heart and soul out in my journals, you know, just begging to know what was wrong with me. I kept attracting these awful men, you know, and it wasn't just men. I want you to know, you know, when you've been abused, I mean, I attracted abuse of every kind, and
me too.
And spiritual abuse too. I mean, I even had a spiritual teacher go to the dark side, and you know, I mean, it was full on this lifetime. But you know, one of the things that I like to talk about, especially for light workers, is the importance of reframing one's story at this, because it doesn't help to drag your story around. You know, Carolyn Mace talked about introducing ourselves through our wounding. You know, those years are really over. You know, we can't be dragging our story around or using it as an excuse anymore, because however dreadful it was, and there are some dreadful, dreadful stories out there, but you know, going back to it's not how you start, it's how you finish. You know, I've been passionate all my life about reading, you know, science fiction fantasy books, that, you know, that really are about the battle between the dark and the light.
I love it. I love it.
You know, I've just inhaled them, really. And I realized at some point that every one of them was in its own way a hero's journey, and that every one of us is a hero in our own life. And so when you think about starting, you know, up until now on the earth plane, we forget what we came to do. You know, we all make our plan with our guides, and then we come into the physical body and we undergo this veil of forgetfulness. So we forget who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And so we start off life being told who we are. We're told who we are, we're told how to behave, we're told, you know, how to be in the world, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. We get imprinted by our parents, and what that means is we actually absorb our parents' wounds as a bid to get more love and attention. We think if we take their wounds into our body, they'll have more time and attention to devote to us. But actually what that really is about is it is the way that you discover your own healing agenda. Again, up until now, you know, when we're safely stabilized in the fifth dimension, this won't be necessary. And there are already some beings on the earth arriving who do not forget who they are and begin their life already knowing who they are and what they came to do. But most of us, you know, have not been privileged that way.
Right.
And so we start out, you know, believing the input from our family and our communities, and then schooling, and then, you know, going out into the workplace. And, you know, it's really traumatizing because, you know, we go into relationship and we think, wow, great, I'm getting away from, you know, my parents and my family. Oh boy. Find, you know, that relationships are actually designed to bring up whatever hasn't been healed in childhood.
Yes. Can you say that one again?
Yeah, relationships are designed to bring up what hasn't been healed in childhood.
Yes, I agree 100%.
So we meet this dazzling person, and the universe throws this cosmic dust in our eyes, you know, and we're like, oh, this is the one, you know. And then when that stardust has gone away, we realize, oh my God, all the stuff starts coming up, and we blame the other person. We decide, oh, you know, you didn't present yourself truthfully to me. I'm getting rid of you. And then we choose again, and we find different face, different body, same issues coming up. So if you think about the hero's journey, it really starts with the hero not being aware of who they really are, kind of like the story of the ugly duckling, you know? And over time, as you grow up and grow out into the world and start to heal your wounding and release those layers of who you are not, who you are becomes revealed.
Yeah.
And you realize that the treasure you've been seeking, you know, in keeping with the hero's journey, is actually yourself.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I'm having one of my own experiences was that I was in a 20-year relationship, and I was in that place of absolute blame. Like, it's all him, it's all his fault. How dare he, you know, hurt me so much, and, you know, all of that. And, but I had completely lost myself. I'd allowed myself to be lost and to morph and do all of those things that we're often, you know, kind of trained to do as women in our society. And then when we got divorced, I really wanted to heal. Like, I did 3-year deep dive healing journey. And the most pivotal experience for me was the women's circle that I joined, because it was so intensive. It was like 12 hours a day, 1 day a month. So from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., we just dove all the way in. And what these women did for me, and I believe this is one of our superpowers as women especially, is really just held up a mirror in front of each other and reflected back what we saw. And hearing that over and over again from these women, because at first I couldn't take it. I didn't know how to let it in. I had no, oh, I'm not that. No, no, that's not me, you know. And over time with them, I realized that these women were speaking the truth. And the more I trusted them, the more I opened up and allowed those reflections to really come back to me. And it helped me recalibrate. It helped me get a better sense of like, is that me? Is that not me? You know, so that I could actually check in with myself to make that determination. Like, is that me? Is that what I'm really putting out there? Or if that's what I'm putting out there, is that what I want to be putting out there? Do I need to do something inside to shift that? And I got really lucky that the next relationship that I had is the man that I'm married to today, who happens to be someone who completely saw me. And I mean, just from the moment we met, just completely saw me, was able to reflect, much like those women, these qualities of me that I had disowned and had been squashed, and, you know, all of those things. And I'm so grateful. And I believe that there were two pieces in that puzzle. Three actually. One was the reflection from the women. Two was the fact that I was going into my own stuff. So I was really going in and figuring these things out. The third was I was in my body.
Difference.
Big difference. The exercises that she had us do were so intense, like you couldn't not be in your body, because she just had these beautiful exercises that just put you there. And you might be in the middle of it before you realize you were in there, but you were in there.
Yes.
Those three pieces to me are like the key for those of us who want to do it a little faster than some of us
Yes.
experienced.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, you know, that it took me 7 years, took you 3 years. It's like, it doesn't have to take that long anymore, because time has really speeded up, and the energies are so supportive right now to assist you in letting everything that needs to go, and everything that needs to come. And so, you know, really this is an amazing time. And this year in particular, you know, I was told that more personal growth, spiritual growth could be accomplished this year than any other year in any of our lifetimes. This year is the year to go for it.
I can see that. My therapy practice blew up when COVID hit. And the beautiful thing is that people are home, and there's some interesting level of safety that is really letting people go deep, like so much deeper than they were going before all of this hit. So I totally agree. I think a lot of people are kind of being forced to sit in their feelings for the first time in a really long time, because there is less to pull them out of their own experience. And I think it's such a beautiful and rich opportunity for sure.
I do too. And, you know, I would add this other piece, because this is the piece that came up more recently for me out of this intensification of the energy. That, you know, you can feel like you're being punished sometimes, because it does feel a bit like being battered. But actually, you know, of course, we asked for this. So we asked to be pushed and prodded, because we really came to get this job done. And so the piece I want to talk about is childhood defense patterns. And, you know, this really fits a lot with what we've been talking about, because, you know, most of us have had some experience of abuse, maybe not sexual abuse, but really and truly, you know, I don't encourage people to compare and contrast their abuse experiences. Abuse is abuse.
Yes.
And many of us have been emotionally abused.
Yeah.
And what we have learned as children is how to defend against it. And so we learned how to do it. And, you know, some of us learned it through disconnecting. Some of us learned it by, you know, having a tantrum, you know, to try to kind of, you know, redirect the energy. Some of us went totally silent, you know, wouldn't talk about anything. Some of us actually developed physical problems to deflect so that we would attract sympathy. There are so many variations. We could go on and on and on about that. But now, in the journey towards intimacy, and what you said earlier about wanting to be seen, it is a fundamental need of humanity. We need to be seen. We need to be heard. We need to be recognized, for who we are. And we also want to be remembered, just a piece of the puzzle. But, when we're moving towards intimacy, there can be these old patterns that of course come up because, as a child, moving towards any kind of opening, would cause the danger to start to appear. And so we find ourselves shutting down in any kind of confrontation. Even if people just simply disagree with you, you may feel that inner combustion and that pattern starts coming up. So this is really the time to be able to identify those childhood patterns and realize what we are actually doing to push intimacy away. And it can be very, very painful when we realize that our own pattern, which was designed to protect ourselves, actually caused pain to another person. Because we disappeared.
That's huge.
And being able to coax that child, because we still have that childlike essence in our bodies, being able to coax that child who's like, I'm not playing. I'm not trusting you. I'm not going to go there. And to be able to work with her in a way for her to see that, again, it's kind of like being in the body is the solution,
Yes.
This is another piece of that being able to open up that defense pattern and work through your vulnerability to be able to get to the other side of it, where really everything you want, it's there, it's on the other side. So this is a piece that I've worked through over the past couple of years in identifying those places and healing them, and now get to encourage my clients to do the same thing, because it really is standing between us and what we most want. Intimacy into me. See, if I'm gonna not let you because I'm defended against you,
absolutely
get what I want.
And the shame piece, like that's often the mechanism, right? It's not that I feel bad because I did something, or it's I'm bad. Don't look at me. You're going to see how bad I really am. I remember actually thinking that as a child, being terrified of other children, because I just knew that if they really saw me, then they would see that deep, dark secret that I was carrying, or they would see that I was some kind of bad girl or whatever it was. And it's just fascinating to me how, this is work for all of us. This is work for all of us. How can we truly be intimate when we're unable to look at ourselves, when we're unable to see ourselves? How could we really allow someone else to see us if we're not willing to go there?
This kind of popped for me a good many years ago now, thank goodness. But I had the same issue, of course, terrified that if you really saw me, you would not want to be with me. And I don't know if you're allowed to swear on this channel.
Absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. Go for it.
my deepest fear was that if you really got to know me, you'd find out I was just a piece of shit, right?
Yeah.
And so I actually attracted a man in my life who used those exact words to me and said, wow, you've got the world fooled. You know, when you really get to know you, you're nothing but a fucking piece of shit. And you know what I did? I laughed. I laughed. And it was a breakthrough moment, because
I love it.
in that moment, I realized I am that powerful to create someone mirroring back to me my worst fear. And
oh my gosh.
it broke it. It broke it.
I love it. I love it.
No.
So that piece, I know we're like getting close to the end of our time, but that piece, so there's I see clients go two different ways. The client who really is ready to be empowered starts to play with that, right? That energy of like, I deserve, I am powerful, I can create my reality, I can make things happen in my life, I can call to me the things that I want and that I need, and etc. Right? Yep. Then I see those clients who are like, I am so powerful that I create like I'm such a powerfully bad person that all of this bad stuff keeps happening to me. So there's like that fine-tuned little nuance there between I can embrace my power and I can use it to propel me forward and bring to me those things that I want. But I've also seen clients go so far in the other direction of like, you know, I'm like to the point of paranoia and OCD, right? Like I'm so powerful that if I step on that crack, someone in my family is going to die, or that if I don't do this ritual, then, you know, something awful is going to happen. So I'm wondering if you have any nugget there for like, what is that piece in the middle that can help us move one way or the other?
Yeah.
That can take us back into that fear kind of vortex, or can really move us into embracing that power and laughing and taking ourselves less seriously and like, oh, I had the power to create that shit. Okay. Whew. Now that I know that, don't want that. So I'm going to go create something else, you know?
It's cool when that happens. So I think that I would say this, that one of the very biggest issues that I'm seeing in the world overall is that people don't know who they are. And I think when you don't know who you are, it really makes you vulnerable to allowing other people to tell you who you are, and for you to believe them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, you know, one of the things that is a joy at this time is people really are waking up more and more. And, you know, I even heard this the other day, which thrilled me no end, was that each of us here on the planet at the moment has got the wiring already inside of us to become the new human, you know, to have our 12-strand DNA fully restored, to have our the structure of our bodies be crystalline like diamonds, you know, to be operating as an aspect of divinity that we truly are. And that the process that we're all going through is actually being speeded up all the time. Now, of course, there are many of us absolutely on the front end, being absolutely responsible for doing our own work and being happy to do it, actually, right. For the most part. And then there's others that are being woken up as we speak. Something is, and of course this Shelter in Grace has really been the hugest wake up for all of us to re-examine the quality of our life, how we're living, how we're spending our time, how we're spending
our money.
Yeah. And, you know, I realized that most of our lives up until now, even though we might not have ever qualified it this way, but we've been enslaved. You know, we've been enslaved to our work, whether we're entrepreneurs or whether we have a job. You know, we've been enslaved to it, and we've been enslaved to, you know, to money and to consumerism and to being told that, you know, in order to be okay, you need to have this latest blah, blah, blah. You know, that all is ending as we're starting to be woken up to the true nature of our being. And once you recognize that who you are is an aspect of divinity, that you were made in love, and love is your true essence, and that what happened to you, you know, as happened to so many of us, is that essential essence got layered over by wounding, by misconceptions, by other people's beliefs, by past life bleeding through into this life, energetic cords with other people, bringing other people's energy into your body. So other people's beliefs and everything. No wonder we don't know who we are. You know, who we are is hidden by all these layers. But, you know, as we start to take off the layers, we are uncovering who we really truly are, and who we are. Each one of us is utterly exquisite. And why I do the work I do is because if everyone was in touch with their own innate set of gifts and talents, and everyone made the contribution that they came to make, we'd have no more problems in the world. So it is that important to remember who you are, to uncover who we are, and own it, and claim your voice in the world.
I love it. I love it. Were you one of those, did you ever get teased for being an optimist?
Totally.
I did too. I just, and I think it's an interesting dynamic. I go into this with women in relationships, right? Is that those of us who are so empathic, that we see the potential in somebody and we're like, oh, I see how amazing you are. But they don't see it. They have so much wounding around it. And we just think if we hang out long enough and we love them enough, it's just going to go away. It's going to break. And it doesn't work that way. But it's such a beautiful quality in us that we see the radiance in every person that we come across. And that is a true gift, despite any teasing we may have received for.
I think so too. I wouldn't change that aspect of myself for the world. Because, you know, I do think that the way you learn and grow is through the mirroring of other people, you know, both negatively and positively. And so I'd rather be the positive influence.
Yes, me too. Oh, beautiful. Thank you, Aimee. Thank you so much.
But a delight. It's always a delight to talk with you, Michelle. Always.
Right back at you.
So much.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your wisdom. And we will have more information on how you can reach out to Aimee if you go onto the membership page or if you go to the YouTube channel.
Thank you.
Yay. Thank you.
Love to you all. Beautiful.